This is tape number 21, and in the last tape, number 20, we were talking about the question of representation. I had to break off the tape because my cat walked all over the keyboard here on my computer. And I left you with the question, can someone who's black represent someone who's white? Can someone who's white represent someone who's black? And various permeations of that kind of question. It's going after something very simple. Do you have to look like or share the same identity with the people that you represent? And that's a question that we deal with all the time. It's hard to imagine it because your first answer, of course, is that yes, you can represent someone who's not exactly like you. But when you come right down to it, it is a question that is really striking at the core of American democracy. Do we have to have our representatives look like us? Do we have to have our representatives like us? And it doesn't have to be just about skin color or gender. It could be about profession. Do our representatives have to be knowledgeable about farming? Do they have to be knowledgeable about the law? Do they have to be knowledgeable about teaching, about school? I mean, all of those things come into play when you think about the question of representation. And I am not here to give any answers to that. I don't have any. It's something that I think, if we're honest, we all struggle with. When we look at someone we're going to vote for, do we want to vote for them because they represent us? And what do we mean by represent us? Do they represent our values, our policy positions, our looks? I'm just leaving it there, okay? And in the end, each of us makes our own decision on those questions when we vote. Now, with that in mind, I want to turn to the final topic of this part of the class. Okay? So, it's a simple question. Okay? And the question is, who governs the U.S.? And you go, what do you mean? Okay? Well, it turns out that this is a really interesting question. Who does govern the U.S.? Okay? Now, I am teaching at McMurry University in Abilene, Texas. We are not an Ivy League school. Okay? The Ivy League schools are all found in the Northeast. There is a version of them, University of Michigan, University of Chicago, in the middle of the country, and there's Stanford, Berkeley, on the West Coast. Okay, they're all considered equivalent to Ivy League schools. But is that really answering this question? There's my cat again. Okay, the cat is taken care of. The joy of working at home. We're taking up the question, who governs the U.S.? So, McMurry University is not an Ivy League school. I'd like to go through our recent presidents to see where they went to school. Do you have to be in an Ivy League? Do you have to have an Ivy League education to govern America, to be our president? Okay, so Donald Trump, he went and graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school. Before him, Barack Obama, he has a Harvard Law degree, and he graduated from undergraduate at Columbia, an Ivy League school. Before him was George W. Bush, who graduated from Yale University, an Ivy League school. Before him was Bill Clinton, who graduated from Georgetown, which is not an Ivy League school, but just below that, but then went to Yale Law School and graduated from Yale Law School, Ivy League school. Before Bill Clinton was George H.W. Bush, who graduated from Yale University. Okay, so what we have, just looking at our recent presidents, what we have is a whole bunch of people who went to Ivy League schools. So the very fact that we're working at McMurry University, you're studying at McMurry, does that mean you can't be a president? Okay? Now, the very fact I'm even considering this means I'm talking about a theory here. Who governs America? And that theory is that there is a bunch of elites who govern America. And to be part of that elites, you need to go to an Ivy League school. So I hate to say it, the very fact that you're here means you blew it. Okay? That's the elite theory. All right? Now, there's another theory, and this is called pluralism. And under this theory, the argument is, nah, you don't need to go to an Ivy League school. And in fact, you can make a huge difference in this country if you don't go to an Ivy League school. There are so many ways to power in this country that Ivy League education is just one of them. And we're just going through a string of people who graduated from Ivy League schools. So let's take the same presidents and let's take it a little bit further. Okay? So, Joe Biden. Where did Joe Biden go to school? Joe Biden went to school at the University of Delaware. Not an Ivy League school. Okay? Not at all an Ivy League school. He graduated from Syracuse Law School. Not an Ivy League school. Okay? Donald Trump. Where did he go? Well, I already told you he graduated from University of Pennsylvania. Did he start out there? No, he did not. He did not start at the University of Pennsylvania. He started out at Fordham University, which is a Catholic school in New York City. And after 2 years, he transferred to an Ivy League school, but he didn't start there. And in fact, the story from his niece is that he had someone help him take the entrance exams to get into an Ivy League school. He didn't do it himself. Okay? Let's go back further. Okay? Barack Obama. Barack Obama, undergraduate degree, he graduated from Columbia University. Did he start at Columbia University? Not at all. He actually started at Occidental College in Los Angeles, California, in a section of Los Angeles called Eagle Rock. My grandmother lived there until she died, just down the road from Occidental College. Occidental College is the McMurry of Los Angeles. Okay? He went there for a couple years, then decided he wants to move east, and he moved to New York. And then he got into Columbia and finished up there. So he didn't start at an Ivy League school. Okay? Before that, George W. Bush, Yale all the way. Before that, Bill Clinton, I already said Georgetown, and then Harvard. George H.W. Bush, where did he go? Yale University. Before him was Ronald Reagan. Where did Ronald Reagan go to school? Ronald Reagan went to Eureka College. Have you ever heard of Eureka College? Eureka College is a tiny little school of about 300 people or so back in the day. And McMurry is so much bigger than Eureka ever was. Okay? If we're not an Ivy League school, I assure you, Eureka College was not an Ivy League school either. So Ronald Reagan went from there and then eventually made it to the presidency. Turns out you don't have to start at an Ivy League school. That's just the way it is. People focus on a few things, on a few presidents, and they say you need that. Well, it turns out not necessarily. So, let's take it a step further. Who's the most famous McMurry graduate? Most famous McMurry graduate is a woman by the name of Sarah Weddington. Sarah Weddington. Okay? And my guess is that most of you have not heard of her. But her work affects American politics today. Sarah Weddington graduated from McMurry in the 1960s. She went to the University of Texas to go to law school, got a degree in law, and then one of her very first cases as a lawyer was a woman walking in the door, and the woman wanted to have an abortion. Abortion was illegal in the state of Texas at that time. Sarah Weddington agreed to work with this woman to try to help change the Texas law that prohibited abortions. Sarah Weddington took her case, this woman's case, all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court case is called Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade is easily in the top 5 Supreme Court cases ever in American history. It affects our politics to this day. This case was decided in 1973, okay, when the Supreme Court said, yes, abortion is legal in the whole United States. Well, President Trump nominated Amy Coney Barrett to be on the Supreme Court, partially in the hope that she would vote to overturn Roe versus Wade. My point is very simple, that a woman who graduated from McMurry University went and made a huge difference in the history of this country, in the politics of this country. And, it doesn't matter what your opinion is about abortion. It doesn't matter what your belief is about abortion. My point is very simple, that a person who wants to make a difference in the United States does not need to go to an elite school. Okay? I am a great believer in this theory, the pluralism theory, that there is a lot of different ways to make a difference in this country. And you don't have to go to an elite school to achieve it. All right? So that's going to conclude this. What we're going to take up in the next couple of tapes is the U.S. Constitution.